Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on the Aurora ring, which goes with the bracelet. So here's the ring. So very, just the same bezel, but we're going to do the whole bezel. And many of you have asked me to just do a smaller piece because you're a little more of a beginner and you want to make sure you can do, the bezel before you make 5 or 6 of them. So here's the ring. So we'll do this today. And it's made with this pretty little band using bugle beads on 11/0s and 15/0s, and it's using my interlace little pattern that I use a lot of, so that'll be a lot of fun to play with. All right, so I'm going to clear this off, get a materials list going, and we'll get started. So if you like my channel, hit that subscribe button and share my videos if you like, and hit the like button as well if you want to. All right, so I'm going to clear this off and we'll get a materials list going. Okay, let's get a materials list going. So you'll need a 13 by 18 millimeter fancy stone, and you can use any fancy stone that you have, Swarovski, Potomac, Chinese crystal, whatever you like. I'm going to make one to go with my Juliet necklace, so I'm using this Swarovski today. You need 1 or 2 colors of Delicas. Now, because I'm going to make it to go with this necklace, I use 2 different color Delicas here, and I'll show you how easy it is if you're kind of new at bezeling. I'll show you how easy it is to do a bezel when you use 2 different color beads, Delicas. Actually, this is a Toho Aiko, but I'm going to call everything a Delica. Okay. You'll need a 15/0 seed bead, an 11/0 seed bead. Here I have some bugle beads for the band, stop bead, size 10, 12, or 11. So sometimes I just split the difference and use an 11. 8-pound Fireline black satin. Remember, this is that little No More Oops bead tray. I'll link that, the Etsy shop down below. Bronze Pony 10 for the Ringberries mat, the big one. That's a 10% off coupon code. I'll link that shop below as well. All sizes, shapes, colors, amounts, everything will be in the description box below the video. So as usual, don't forget to click the down arrow or the show more. Box will open and everything will be there. All right, so I'm going to clear this off and we'll get started. Okay, let's get started. So thread your needle with about 3 feet of thread, put on a stop bead and leave about a 14-inch tail. We're going to use that tail. So we're going to do alternating colors of Delicas. So just to show you on here, this is how I alternated them here. And for those of you who are still a little unsure about your bezeling and such, this is so easy to use alternating colors. It makes it so simple to make the bezels. So, give it a try. All right, I'm going to pick up a gold and a blue. And I'm just going to alternate gold, blue, gold, blue, until I have 40 beads on. So I'll have 20 of my gold beads and 20 of my blue beads. All right, and so you're going to be starting with a gold, and you'll be ending with a blue. So get that done, and then come on back, and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So I have my 40 beads on. I have 20 gold and 20 blue alternating. I started with a gold, ended with a blue, or all one color, whichever you're doing. I'm going to sew those into a circle by sewing through the first bead after my stop bead, which is that first gold bead. Now I have a circle, just holding it like that. And now I'm going to pick up a blue. So we're doing a standard peyote bezel. So you're exiting this bead, picking up a bead, skipping the next bead, and sewing through the following bead. Like that. Making sure that bead pops up on that previous bead. So just like that. So if you're alternating, you can just, each time, you're just going to pick up a blue bead and sew through the gold bead. So that's picking up a bead, skipping a bead, sewing through the next bead. But if you're sort of a beginner and you're like, oh, gee, I don't want to, if it's difficult to keep that in your mind, picking up a bead, skip a bead, sew through the next bead, just pick up a blue bead, sew through the gold bead. Pick up a blue bead, sew through the gold bead. So not only is it, I think, really pretty to alternate, it just makes it like so easy. It's like you don't really have to think about it. But know that you're always just picking up a bead, skipping the next bead, sewing through the following bead. Just like that. Okay, so you're going to do that all the way around to the end, and then meet me back here and we'll step up. Okay, so here we are, we're coming down to our last bead. So I'm picking up a blue bead, and I'm going to skip the next bead, and I'm going to sew through, which is that blue one, sew through the gold one, and then the blue one on the diagonal, and that's going to step me up so I can add more beads. So just like that. Okay, now I'm stepped up, and I can add some beads on. So now I'm exiting this blue bead, I'm going to put on a gold bead. So I'm going to add a gold bead in between every blue bead. So exiting this blue, picking up a gold, sewing through the next blue. So just sewing through the very next sticking up bead, which is the blue one. So picking up gold, going through the blue, picking up a gold, going through the blue. So we're going to do all the way around, and then meet me at the end and we'll step up. Just a note for a second. So as I'm going around, I'm pulling a little bit, and I'm holding my thumb here to kind of make it curve a little bit. You don't have to hold it in a death grip, as one of my viewers always says, or, you know, pull it so tight that it buckles. Just give it a gentle tug as you go around. I see around my thumb like that, and see how it's starting to curve a little bit? So you'll just keep doing that all the way around, and you'll keep it, the tension nice. So see, as I pull a little bit, you kind of pull inward a little bit, it just sort of makes the bead sit really nicely. Okay, so come around to the end, and then we'll step. I'm ready to step up, so I'm picking up my gold bead. I'm exiting that blue bead right there, so I'm going to sew through the next sticking out bead, which is the blue, and then I'm going to sew through that one and the one on the diagonal, which is the gold, which is going to step me up. That's what I have. All right, so at this point I kind of like to, so I give it a little pull, and I like to hold it on my forefinger when I continue. So we're going to start putting on start adding some 15-ohs. So I'm exiting this gold Delica. I'm just going to pick up a 15-oh, and I'm going to sew through each sticking out Delica, like that. And I'm pulling as I go, sort of pulling a little bit inward, kind of like that. See how it moves it a little bit? But again, I'm not holding it in a death grip, and I'm not pulling it so much that the beads are buckling. I'm just using a nice tension. I think tension, when it comes to beading, can make the difference between a really beautiful piece and a piece that's kind of gets all wonky. So tension, you know, learn to kind of pay attention to your tension, and always, you know, it's just so important. All right. Okay. So enough lecturing, and so go all the way around at the end, and we'll step up. Okay. Coming down to the end. So here I have one bead left to put on. So exiting this Delica right here. I'm going to sew through the next sticking out Delica, which is the gold one, and then the 15-oh on the diagonal. So I've picked up a 15-oh. Okay. So that's our last bead on this round. Looking good. So now we're going to put another row of 15-ohs on. So pick up a 15-oh, sew through every sticking out 15-oh. And again, we're just giving a slight tug inward as we go, like that. And just going all the way around with this next round of 15-ohs. Okay, so get that done, and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, I'm coming down to the end. I just have a couple more beads to put on. So here I put on a 15-oh, and then my last 15-oh, I'm going to sew through this 15-oh, and then the 15-oh on the diagonal to step up. A little pull inward. So we're done with this round. Okay, looking good. So now I'm just going to put that needle and thread aside, and I'm going to go to my back thread. So this was the tail thread that had the stop bead on it. I took the stop bead off and threaded a needle. So this is the back of the bezel here. So we're going to work on the back a little bit. We're going to get back to the front, but we're going to work on the back for a little bit. So I've threaded a needle, and I take off your stop bead, thread your needle, and I'm exiting a gold bead right here. I'm just going to sew up through this blue one because I want to get on the outside so I can put more beads on. So I want to get on the edge. So there, now I'm where I can put more beads on. So at this point, you can pop the stone in if you like. So I'm popping it in, so just to see how it's going. It's not going to stay. So this is what the front is going to look like, and here, this is the back. You can actually hold it with your thumb and add beads, or, well, actually, let's just do that. So I'm just going to add a 15-oh in between every sticking out Delica to get the back done. this. And you'll see as you go along, probably on the second round, because we're going to put 2 rounds on the back, your bezel, you will capture your bezel and it will be nice and tight. So until then, just hold it and just pull it inward like this. So pulling inward like that. And just keep doing that all the way around, and then step up on your own and do another round. So I have 2 rounds going here, and then meet me at the end and we'll continue. Okay, just back for a second. So I'm about to step up after my first round on the back here. So here I'm picking up a 15-0, sewing through the Delica, and then the 15-0 on the diagonal. Now my stone is just starting to sit nicely in the bezel. So if your stone is still a little bit loose, don't worry about it. It will, the bezel will capture the stone and it'll be perfect. It may not even capture it until you get to, you know, about this point or a little further. So we're going to just add another round of 15-0s on here. So here, and as you go about, you'll see it getting tighter and tighter, just like that. All right, so maybe at the end and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So we're going to the front of the bezel again. So we have our 2 rounds on, and now we're going to put this little sort of accent bead on right there. So we're going to pick up, I'm picking up a bright gold 15-0, exiting a 15-0, sewing through the next 15-0. Right there. Now I'm just going to advance my needle through this bead. And this bead. And then I'm going to put on another 15-0. You can even use a Charlotte here. Like that. Advancing my needle through this bead. And then this bead. And then I'm putting on another bright gold 15-0. And that's going to give you that sort of little scalloped edge on the inside. All right, so you're just going to do that all the way around, and then maybe at the end, and we'll continue. Coming down to the end, so I'm putting on my last gold 15-0, sewing through this 15-0. And then I'm going to, so that last one is on, I'm going to sew through this 15-0. Right there, and then I'm going to start working my way in through the Delicas. I'm going to sew through this Delica on the diagonal. I'm going to sew through the blue one, and then I'm going to sew through this gold one right here. So I just want my thread coming out of that gold Delica right there. Okay, and then we're going to start putting on our 11-0s. So I'm going to pick up an 11-0. So this is the stitch in the ditch, right? Exiting this gold Delica right here, just pop over to the next gold Delica. That'll pull. Picking up an 11-0, sewing through the next gold Delica. So putting a little bead right in between these 2. Here. Just doing that all the way around. Like that. Okay, so you're just going to do that all the way around to the end, and then meet me back there, and I'll show you how to kind of end that thread off. All right, see you in a few. Okay, so we're back, and all the stitch in the ditch beads are done. So now you just want to sew that thread in, and I've already done that, so I'm just going to talk you through it. So here you've put a stitch in the ditch bead on, so your last bead right here, and you know you're sewing through that gold Delica right there, so your thread will be coming out of this gold Delica. You're just going to sew on the diagonal, just right through this Delica, and then through this one and this one. So you're going to weave your way around the Delicas until it feels nice and snug and comfortable, and then you're just going to clip off your threads. Okay, so get that done, and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So now we're going to start the band. So the band, we're going to do this a little bit differently than I've done bands in the past. We're going to start here and here, and then we're going to meet in the middle and sew it together in the middle and reinforce. Just a little easier way, if you can, to put a band on so that you're not like fighting to get your needle in there to attach this side. So let's give it a go. All right, so thread your needle with about 32 inches of thread, put on a stopping and leave about a 14-inch tail. So we're going to take our bezel, And so the band is going to be coming out this way and this way. So you want to find 3 Delicas on the back, so that's that last round of Delicas that we put on the back. You want to find 3 that are sort of centered, and you can, you know, like I always say with bezels, you can kind of like massage it a little bit so that you can get, you know, if it looks off a bit. I see these 3 right here, 1, 2, 3, are perfect for me to sew around. So this is my little span right here, and then I'm going to connect it to 3 on that side. So I'm taking my needle and thread and just sewing through the first Delica that I'm going to use. Just get the stop bead there, and then I'll just hold it in the back like this. All right, so we're going to do a little interlace band, and this band is just like the interlace ruffles bracelet. So here we're exiting this side of the Delica. I'm just going to sew through the other side. So I've picked up 3 11-ohs, sewing through the other side of the Delica. It's going to put 1 unit on. Now all I want to do at this point is move my thread from this Delica to this Delica right here. So whatever it takes to get there, I'm just move this out of the way for a second so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to sew through this 15-0 right here on my bezel. Make sure you don't get caught. Okay, there. Then I'm going to sew through this 15-0 and the little 15-0 on the diagonal. If you can get through the Delicas, do that. That's fine also. There are many different routes. And then I'm going to sew through the blue Delica that I was headed for. Just like that. So like I said, however you can get there on the diagonal so that you do not have thread showing. I'm going to pick up 3 11-ohs. I'm going to sew through the other side of the Delica I'm exiting. Like that. Okay, so this is how I've put on my 2 units to continue on with the band. Now I'm going to look at it this way and see how centered it looks. And that looks pretty good to me, so I'm pretty happy with those. If yours are like way off and wonky, you'll need to just go back and sort of change where you put them. All right, so I'm just going to let you get to this point and then come on back and we'll continue. Let's continue. So you're exiting this Delica where we put our last unit on, you know, this right angle weave unit. Sew up the side seed bead of that unit and the top one. Like that. So you want your thread coming out of the top right there. You're going to pick up 3 11-ohs and sew through the other side of the bead you're exiting. Like that. So you put another right angle weave unit on. You're going to pick up a 15-0, a bugle bead, and a 15-0. So check your bugle beads, because the problem I see with bugle beads is that when they're cut, often the edges are ragged or uneven. So try to find the most even bugle beads, because that's what makes everything look straight. If it's crooked, then everything's going to be crooked. So you just have to do your best with that. So I just kind of sort of look through them and get the best ones. So exiting here, 15-0 bugle bead, 15-0, sewing through this one. So the top seed bead of the next unit. Pick up 3 11-ohs. Sew through the other side of the seed bead you're exiting, just that 11-0 right here. And what I do with this often is I'll pull this thread, hold it with my thumb, and put the unit on like that. Now these, you know, with interlace, if you haven't done it before, this pattern, it looks all wonky until you reinforce it. So don't worry about it if it looks wonky. Just try to keep it snug and do your best. And we're going to reinforce, so it's going to make everything look beautiful. All right, exiting the 11-0, sewing through this side 11-0 and this top 11-0. Just like that. Pick up 3 11-ohs. Sew through the other side of the seed bead you're exiting. Pick up a 15-0, a bugle bead, and a 15-0. Sew through this. Make sure you're straight there. Okay, sew through the bottom seed bead right here, the next seed bead on the next unit, right there. Pick up 3 11-ohs. sew through the other side of the seed bead you're exiting. Like that. Sew through the side seed bead and the seed bead. So you're getting ready to put more units on, and you know, when I pull my tail thread, it makes it nice and tight. All right, so this is what you're going to do for one side. Now, let me look at the ring here. I had I'll count the bugle beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have about 7 or 8 bugle bead and, you know, the right angle weave units on this side and 7 on the other side. That's for my size 8 middle finger ring. So you're going to have to just pick it up and measure it around your finger. You want to keep a little bit of an opening here because we're going to connect the two sides with a right angle weave unit underneath. So, you know, if you go too far, you can always take one off, or if you haven't gone enough, you can always add it on. So not a big deal to adjust this. So we're just going to do this on the one side and then do the exact same thing. Add a thread here. I'm thinking we might be able to add a little less thread, maybe 2 feet. I always add extra. So you're going to do the exact same thing on the 3 Delicas on this side where you're going to meet. So get both of those done, and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. Now we're going to do a little reinforcing before we sew the band together. So I have both my sides on, and if you notice how straight and pretty this one looks, it's because I've already done this side. I've done the reinforcing on this side. So we're going to do it on this side before we sew the band together. All right, so I have both sides on. Now the way I want you to end on each side is we have our right angle weave units here. Just want you to pick up a 15-0, a bugle bead, and a 15-0. So no 11-0s. I'm just going to sew through the other side of that next bead. All right, just like that. All right, so we have that done. Now we're going to turn it around, and you're going to take off your stop bead and thread a needle. So we're going to add a bead up here. So I added an extra bead right here just to reinforce it at the top a little bit better. So here we are. See, this is where we had added the right angle weave unit, right? Went through the Delica. So what you're going to do, so you're exiting that Delica underneath there, just going to sew through this one, like that. You're going to pick up an 11-0 and sew through the next 11-0 right here, just down the line there. We're headed back around again. So we're adding an 11-0 right here. I'm going to just put my needle right through this group right here. All of these 11-0, 15-0 bugle, 15-0, 11-0, like that. I'm going to sew through this bead right here, just with my needle and thread. And then I'm going to take an 11-0 and I'm going to add one on this side. So you're going to be putting it right here. Okay, and then you want to sew through the Delica on your bezel right there, just like that. And you sort of pop it out, and that sort of gives you that sort of little extra bead here at the end, and you've reinforced, you're reinforcing your connection a little bit. So just get to this point and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So we are exiting the Delica right here on the bezel after putting those two 11-0s on. So just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to work our way back to this group here, this right angle weave unit, just because I just want to make sure it's nice and secure. So I'm just going to go through these two 15-0s right here. Just go on the diagonal, whatever you can fit through to get to the other side. There. Through this 15-0, so I'm on the diagonal. You might have to switch to a size 12 beading needle here. I'm still working with I think I have a 10 right now that I put on here, so really an 11 or 12 works out really well. And then through the Delica on the bezel. So that's that blue Delica right there. So now I have reinforced again and pop it out because it's going to, you know, you want to make sure it kind of rounds there. So now I'm going to sew down through this seed bead, so that's the next one there. And then I want to go across, but you don't want to use this bead, you want to use this bead. So this is part of your right angle weave unit here. So you're going to sew through this one. Let me pop that up a little bit. This one, the 15-0, the bugle bead and the 15-0, and then the 11-0 right here. I know that's a lot of sewing around on this side, but I'm just, you know, thinking it's going to keep it nice and strong. All right, so this is where I am now, and I popped it out with my finger so that it kind of rounds a little bit. So that's exactly what you want it to look like. You're going to pop it up with your finger, and now it's nice and snug up there. So just, we're exiting this 11-0 right here. So just ignore this one at the moment. So you're exiting this one. So I want to go through this one. So I'm just going through the right angle weave unit beads again. This one. This is the only part that's like a little confusing. And then through this group, like that. So I'm going down this group right there. Just like we did before. And then I'm going to make a turn and go through this 11-0. Now it'll be easy. And then through this line of beads. And you're going to do that all the way down until it kind of straightens out your all your bugle beads. So just make a turn, go through this group, make a turn, go through this group, and so on. And you're going to keep doing that, and as you do it, the bugle beads and everybody is going to kind of, you're going to kind of straighten everybody out. So you just want to do that all the way to the end, and you see how much better that looks. It's straight, the beads start straightening out. All right, so get to the end, and you'll just leave your threads, and we'll sew it together, and then we'll sew all our threads in. All right, see you in a few. Okay, we're back. So you will be ending up with 2 threads on either end. So take one thread, which I did on this side already, and what I did is I reinforced this whole group again all the way down to the end. So I'll show you on this side because I left the thread. So I took one thread and I went up and down all the way to the end again, back down, and then I'll just clip my thread off over here, maybe put a little half hitch knot, clip my thread off. Sometimes I tend to over reinforce, but you know, I don't know. But I think the more you do it, the better it looks. So I'm just gonna burn my thread off there. So now I have 2 threads at either end, and I'm going to sew these together. So this is what I want to do. So this is, see how I have my ends just like this. I'm going to pick up an 11-0. So I'm exiting this 11-0 right here, and I'm going to sew through the same one on the other side. Just opposite, just like that. Whoops, just like that. Pick up another 11-0 and sew through that original bead you started with. So we're just adding a right angle weave unit right here. See, we're just making that into a right angle weave unit. And then I'm going to sew through this one. I'm going to sew directly across all my beads. Get them all, come out of that 11-0 like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Pick up an 11-0, sew through this one, pick up an 11-0, sew through this one, and now you have connected your band together. So all I'm going to do is, again, I'm just going to reinforce with this thread right here. Okay, and then I'm going to just take my other thread and I'm just going to reinforce a little bit with that one as well. So you could just to make sure your connection is good. So go through this one, you have plenty of room. This one, like that. And this one, and then maybe go through these again. I'm out of the way. Where am I? Okay, here I am. Okay, right across, like that. And I think you're good at this point. So just sew your threads in at that point, and then come on back and we'll finish up. Okay, we're back, and here's our ring. So of course I have to sew my threads in, but I think it came out pretty nice, and it fits. The fit is just perfect, so that worked out really well. All right, so here you go. Here's your Aurora ring. So we're gonna, we'll be revisiting this. I don't know if it'll be the next video, but we'll definitely revisit doing these bezels. I was thinking of doing the bracelet with gemstone cabochon, so it will be a flat back cabochon, whereas this is the crystal, so it will be a different bezel, but I think that would be really pretty if we picked out some really pretty gemstones. Some people have posted on Facebook making it with gemstones, and it's gorgeous, so I would love to do that. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.